You fight every single day with that arrogant co-worker at your office, with your manipulating partner, with the fake lives on social media. You constantly try to be right. You exhaust yourself to prove your worth. But because of this, you have already lost. You lost before even drawing your sword. When Sun Tzu said, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting," he was talking directly about you.
Alexander the Great captured entire empires without firing a single arrow. He conquered cities solely with his shadow, because he knew a profound secret. People do not surrender to armies. People surrender to the fear inside their own minds. Today, we will discuss how to eliminate that fear in your head. You will see how to defeat the psychological warriors around you without ever drawing a sword.
Child was born in the dim palace of Macedonia. This child learned to read minds before learning to hold a sword. He passed through the teachings of Aristotle. He understood that armies are not just flesh and bone. The ultimate conquest begins in the human soul. This is exactly what Sun Tzu talks about. The true battlefield is not the land, but the human mind.
A wild horse stood before him, Bucephalus. Everyone looked at it with fear. But young Alexander noticed something. The horse was only afraid of its own shadow. Alexander turned the horse's face toward the sun.
He left the shadow behind and mounted it. Sun Tzu says, "Know thy enemy and know thyself, and you shall not fear the result of 100 battles." Alexander knew the horse's nature. He won solely through sharp observation. His father, Philip, was assassinated.
Everyone thought this 20-year-old boy was an easy prey. But Alexander dissolved all doubts on his very first day on the throne. He did it with a single look. The generals preparing to rebel saw the absolute conviction in his eyes. They couldn't even draw their swords. This was the psychological supremacy Sun Tzu meant. The enemy must accept defeat before even attacking.
All the sages of the world stood before that ancient knot, the Gordian knot. Legend said whoever untied it would rule Asia. Alexander came to the knot. He didn't think for hours.
He drew his sword and chopped it in half with a single strike. This was exactly Sun Tzu's strategy. Do not get drowned in the chaos imposed on you. Be unexpected and swift. Alexander threw the rules away.
The Persian Empire was a massive monster. They vastly outnumbered Alexander's army. The generals said, "Let's wait and attack at night." Alexander refused. "I will not steal my victories." And he took the first step into the river.
He was destroying the invincible Persian taboo in his soldiers' minds.
As Sun Tzu said, place your soldiers in desperate straits where there is no escape. Alexander had burned the bridges.
A massive clash took place at Issus. Alexander did not fight the entire Persian army. He fought King Darius's psychology directly. He charged like a deadly arrow into the center of the army, straight at Darius.
Darius panicked at the sight of this madman and fled. Sun Tzu says, strike the head of the snake, and the body will fall apart. The king fled, and the army lost the war in their minds. Sun Tzu was right again.
The city of Tyre was in the middle of the sea, and its walls were impenetrable. The citizens mocked Alexander from behind their walls. But Alexander did not surrender to anger. He built a massive land bridge from the coast toward the island.
He turned the sea into dry land. Just like Sun Tzu's famous advice, be like water. Water flows around obstacles and dissolves even stones. Alexander changed the geography and broke Tyre's hope.
Alexander arrived in Egypt. He left behind such an aura of fear and respect that the gates opened wide. Not a single drop of blood was spilled.
Alexander did not enter as a conqueror, but as a savior. This was the ultimate moment Sun Tzu talked about. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. The enemy saw fighting you not as an honor, but as suicide.
In the deep deserts of Egypt, priests declared him the Son of God. This was not just a fancy title. It was his greatest psychological weapon. Sun Tzu says, all warfare is based on deception.
Alexander created an illusion of divinity. Now, people were not fighting a mortal man, but a living legend. Perception had defeated reality.
It was a tense night on the plains of Gaugamela. The Persian army stayed awake all night, weapons in hand. They were terrified of a night attack. Alexander slept soundly in his tent. In the morning, he was smiling. Sun Tzu's rule of wear down the enemy while keeping yourself rested worked perfectly. He had already exhausted his enemy by letting them guard their own fears all night. The war was over before it started.
Darius fled again and was stabbed in the back by his own generals. Alexander stood over Darius's lifeless body and wept, because he did not hate his enemy. As Sun Tzu taught, the true wise man does not act out of anger. The purpose is not to destroy the enemy, but to end the war. Alexander only wanted to destroy the throne in their minds. And he succeeded. After the conquest, Alexander began wearing Persian clothes and adopting their customs. His goal was not just to conquer land, but to win hearts and minds. He did not crush them with the sword. He made them submit
by accepting their culture.
Sun Tzu says, "Treat captives well, so they attach themselves to you. You destroy your enemy by making them admire you."
The journey reached the borders of India, but the enemy had changed. Devastating war elephants and endless monsoon rains. A crack of doubt formed in the soldiers' minds for the first time. Where are we going? Sun Tzu's great warning was in effect. Prolonged campaigns exhaust the will of even the strongest army. Alexander was now fighting the inner exhaustion of his own army.
He defeated the Indian king Porus after a brutal battle, and Porus was captured. Alexander asked him, "How do you want me to treat you?" Porus stood tall, like a king. Alexander admired this proud stance and gave him his kingdom back. Sun Tzu says, "True victory is turning an enemy into an ally. The ultimate power is to win a strong soul."
A massive crisis erupted at the Ganges River. The soldiers refused to march any further. Alexander shut himself in his tent, wept, and raged. He had the power to conquer the world, but he lacked the power to conquer the homesickness in his men's minds.
As Sun Tzu said, when the leader stops listening to the hearts of his soldiers, obedience ends. Alexander had to retreat psychologically for the first time.
The return journey was a hell. The Gedrosian desert. Half the army died of thirst. A soldier brought Alexander a helmet full of water. It was the last water. Alexander took it and poured it onto the ground in front of the entire army.
"If my soldiers cannot drink, neither will I," he said. Sun Tzu's profound words came to life. Share the same hardships as your men, and they will follow you into death. It wasn't water that crossed that desert. It was this leadership psychology.
When he returned to Babylon, he was no longer a mortal. In his own mind, he was a god. But the greatest danger was hidden in this narcissistic peak. Sun Tzu says, "Pride blinds even the most brilliant commander."
When there are no enemies left outside, a man is left alone with the monsters inside. Alexander forgot this warning. His mind became the prison of his own pride. The war within was beginning. At 32, he fell ill with a burning fever. His generals whispered, "To whom do you leave your empire?" With his last breath, he said, "To the strongest."
The man who took the world without fighting surrendered helplessly to death. As Sun Tzu said, no chaos is permanent. He left behind only a massive, ruined empire and chaos. Now, let's return 23 centuries later, right next to you. Did you listen to the story of Alexander and Sun Tzu as just a historical fairy tale? You are wrong. The secrets in those marble busts are your story.
This is what you should see when you look in the mirror every morning. You also go to war every day, at your office, on the street, in your own mind. And Sun Tzu's rules still apply to you.
Do you know what man's greatest weakness is? Constantly trying to be right, struggling to prove yourself. When someone attacks you, you immediately draw your sword and go on the defensive. But Alexander attacked Darius's fear, not his army.
What did Sun Tzu say? The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. When someone provokes you, do not argue. Do not waste your energy. Stay silent. Do not break your stance. The greatest answer is your noble silence.
Think about the things that scare you in life, the sources of your anxiety. A word from your boss, the fear of having no future, the fear of being alone. You are just like that wild horse, Bucephalus. You are not afraid of the situation itself. You are afraid of the massive shadows it creates in your mind. Turn your face toward reality and walk over your fears. You will see that they are actually just shadows. The modern world imposes thousands of rules on you. You must dress like this. You must own these things at this age. You must live like everyone else. Do not waste your life trying to untie those knots. Do what Alexander did to the Gordian knot. Use Sun Tzu's tactic. Be swift and disruptive. Draw your mental sword and cut through those demands with a single strike. Do not be a slave, struggling inside the boundaries drawn by others.
But remember, Alexander conquered the world, but he missed Sun Tzu's greatest rule. The ultimate conquest is to conquer your own ego and your own mind. Alexander surrendered to his pride and died young and alone. If you lose to your own ego, everything you conquer will collapse upon you.
Now lower that sword slowly. End the war in the enemy's mind before it even begins. This is exactly what Sun Tzu meant, because true power is not in swinging the sword. It is in the noble mind that knows when to hold it. Now rise up and declare the empire of your own mind.